this is Lady Boulay, and I hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you for your support. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your comments, and thank you for your thumbs up. Thank you for all you do to support the channel. And yes, we are commanded to love one another, whether we want to or not, or whether we agree with each other or not. So every day now, when I go to my TikTok page, it's still happening. Some Black American upset because some African has asked them where they're from. What country in Africa are you from? They're wanting you to say you're from Africa. It's not good enough for you to say, I'm from Georgia. My grandparents are from Alabama. My great grandparents are from Mississippi. My great great grandparents are from Mississippi. My great 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 grandparents are Mississippi. That's not good enough. I do not know why these people are obsessed with the identity of Black American. They want you to say you're from Africa. Now, this is what was happening before Black Americans delineated. Watch this.
They're your brothers.
They're not our
and
brothers.
sisters.
They're not our brothers.
They are.
If you were born in America and have lived there for 300 years, you're no longer African. Those are Americans. We don't need them.
We don't need
They
them
were
to
taken
develop.
away, unfortunately, but they are Americans. We will develop by ourselves. Yeah, we have the capacity, we have the will, we have the resolve. We don't need them. No.
I totally agree with you. Thank you so much, sir.
The caption says, West African man said Black Americans aren't Africans. This is in Uganda. So this is not a West African man. This is a Ugandan man. Uganda is in East Africa. Before Black Americans delineated and began calling ourselves ADOS, FBA, Solani, and all those names, Africans were proud to tell white people that they were not like us and that we were not Africans. And these content creators, some of those African content creators, were going all over Africa, different African countries, asking about Black Americans. I don't understand the obsession that they have with Black Americans, but they do have it. And they were asking them, what do they think about Black Americans, and laughing and mocking us as if to say, we want to be Africans, but we're really not Africans. Well, we are not Africans. They're absolutely right about this. And this guy said, when she asked him about Black Americans being Africans, he said, they're not Africans. They've been in America for 300 years. We've been here more than 300 years, more than 400 years. So he's right. We're not Africans. And he said, we don't need them to come over here and build Africa. We can do it ourselves. I seriously doubt that. I seriously doubt that. If the white people pulled out from over there right now, I seriously doubt they would know how to industrialize that continent. They hadn't done it before the white people got there. So they had thousands of years to do something with those resources, and they didn't do it. I think he's right. I think Black Americans ought to leave them to do it, because I know they're not going to do it. I know the white people are not leaving. I know the Chinese are not leaving. I know the Indians are not leaving. And now the Russians are over there. So, but they're perfectly fine with all those other races of people coming over there, pushing them around and disrespecting them, as long as they can poke their fingers at Black Americans. And that is why delineation is necessary, and that is why gatekeeping is necessary, because they haven't done anything notable that the world is interested in. And that is why they try to leech on to things that we're doing, talking about that came from Africa, that came from Africa. No, the hell it didn't. That was originated right here in the United States of America, and they have no claim to anything that we've done. So now that we're putting the distance between them and ourselves that we should have done a long time ago, now that the leeching is over, they are questioning why we want to be Americans so bad, as if we're not Americans. Listen to this.
Okay, y'all, so this is kind of bothering me. So I really don't understand what is so hard to comprehend about the fact that Black Americans are actually Americans. We're not immigrants. We're not from somewhere else. We're not from some unknown la la land. We are actually Americans. There was this like African lady. I don't even know. She must have been West African. I don't really know where she was from specifically, but we were having a conversation. I was just trying to explain to her about the Black American experience and a little bit about our history, and telling her that, we are actually Americans. And she kept going back and forth trying to rebuttal me and saying that no, we're African and we're, nobody's actually American. There's no such thing as really being an American unless you're Native American. And, basically trying to say that I'm just a lost in the sauce, or we're all, as Black Americans, we're just a bunch of lost in the sauce people that don't know who we are, where we came from, and we're really just lost Africans. And then she goes on to say, because of course I'm combating her like, no, we're American. Like, I'm telling her the history. We've been here since the 1600s. Like, that's when the first slaves got over here. We're a mixture of all different parts of the West African coast and Central Africa, and then we got blood from other ethnicities, and now we are what we are. And then she says, "Why do you want to be American so bad?" As if I'm like a foreigner or an immigrant that's like fighting to have my American identity. I don't need to fight to have an American identity because I am an American. So it's like, what do you mean, why do I want to be an American so bad? Why do I want to be American so bad? What else am I supposed to be?
This is the type of conversation that I would never have with anybody trying to prove to them why I want to be an American. I would never have that conversation. I wouldn't have it with an African, a Caribbean, a white person. I wouldn't have that conversation with anybody. I don't owe anybody that conversation, and I wouldn't have that conversation with anybody. But a better question that Rachel Lynn could have asked that woman was, why do you want to be an American so bad? Have y'all seen how they behave when ICE comes to get them? All of the lying, the trickery, all the stuff that they're telling these Africans to do and not to do when ICE comes to get them, instead of getting their asses on those vans and getting on the plane and going home. The question is, why do they want to be an American so bad? See, they want to take our place, which they will never be able to do, by trying to undermine us and trying to make us feel like we don't belong here. We belong somewhere in Africa. I am not an African, and I don't have that conversation. People can believe whatever they want to believe. I don't have a home in Africa. I have no family in Africa. I don't have a tribe over there. I don't have a language over there. And you will not find me going over there trying to find anything that I have lost. But anyway, I came across this video. I don't know if this man is white or not, but he had something to say about that.
No, Black Americans are American. They are not African. The vast majority of Black Americans living here today are American descendants of slavery. And because of this legacy of slavery, their connections to Africa are so distant and they have been severed that they do not have any real connections to it today. Nationality-wise, culture-wise, and everything else, they are American, not African. In fact, even the concept of ethnicity, their ethnicity would be Black American, not some form of African. And no, race does not make them African. Race is a social construct, and it's a pseudoscientific one at that. Not to mention, all human beings have their origins in Africa, depending on how far back we go. So this entire concept of, well, we have to consider the blacks African is just racism. Black Americans are American just like I am an American. I am not a European American. I have literally no connections to Europe at all. I am American, and so are Black Americans. Quit trying to divide people by the color of their skin, and instead, let people identify as they please.
Amen to that. Now, I know some people are going to come on in here saying they were indigenous and they've always been here. And to be truthful, most Black Americans, especially those of us brought up in the South, were told that we had Indian ancestry. They didn't say indigenous, they said Indian ancestry. I know that my father said that his grandmother was a part of one of those tribes, but because my grandmother was Black, well, Black with some curly like hair, but the main body of my family came on the slave ship. That is true, and I don't try to deny that, but that does not make me an African. And I am not an African, and Africans are insulting and they are irritating as they try to push this identity on Black Americans. They need to be proud of who they are. Because if you listen to them talking to these Black Americans on these podcasts and they ask them where they're from, they get upset. They don't want to say where they're from in Africa, but they want you to say where you're from in Africa. And you can't make it make sense because it doesn't make any sense. So anyway, I'm just going to end by saying this. Here, we're not from a country in Africa. There is no place in Africa that we can call home. Okay, y'all, thank you for listening. Let me know what you think about the video and have a good evening.